Yeah, I'll turn it on.
What happened? Make it fun as possible.
What was that? The closet was small, so.
Main stage, right over there.
Alright, we're gonna start up here for the 14 people who are in here, who were able to find this area. This is basically gonna be talking about charity, fantasy, getting those two involved with each other, and also a little bit on commissioning. That's why I got this guy here, the former ESPN Commission of the Year. Is it like a president thing? Do you go by former or just you're a commission of the year?
Well, I mean, they had the contest. Yeah. They had the Commissioner of the Year contest. I won it. They never had it again, so every year I'm the Commissioner of the Year.
No, I absolutely agree with that, because with the FSGA, I won Humanitarian of the Year, and they have not had it since. So I feel like I'm a 3-time reigning champ. No, so I definitely get that. So where I think I wanted to start off is that Fantasy Cares, what we do, I'm sure you all know of it here, right? Do you all know of Fantasy Cares? Do I need to go over Fantasy Cares here? Okay, well it's a charity within the fantasy football space. We run a bunch of contests and campaigns and tournaments, and we raise money to donate to several charities around the country, and most notably Toys for Tots. We're a national corporate sponsor of theirs, and we do a bunch of shopping trips every year. I think everyone here goes shopping. Do you go shopping? Let's get you shopping. Yeah. Anyway, but I believe the goal of the Fantasy Cares mindset over all these years, and just what I've pushed on all the shows I've done and whatnot, is to inspire the fantasy community to do something good with our hobby, to take one entry fee and give it to charity, just to inspire us all to do good with fantasy football. And I think we've gotten to a point in this industry, it's not worldwide. There are 60 million people who play fantasy football. They're not all giving the charitable things with their leagues, right? But at least within this space, the people who know of us, they've been really good about that lately. The last few years, there's lots of charitable tournaments and leagues and stuff where there weren't before. So not only is Fantasy Cares going to continue to try to inspire that, but also part of what I want to do, and I believe everyone up here is to try to legitimize fantasy football and charity being a thing together. There are a lot of charitable tournaments and leagues out there. A lot of them do things right. I'm going to preface by saying almost all of them do things, almost all of them are good-hearted people that want to do good, and they're trying to do good things with it. But there are a lot of steps we've learned, and things that are probably not things you should do. There are things that are actually illegal that I see out there. You got some nods here. So just a little background on me. I've worked in fantasy contest operators, compliance, and legalization, regulation, and licensing in the fantasy space for about 6-7 years now. So this is an area I'm very well aware of, and it's one of the reasons, and I'll get to this in a moment. Well, I'll get to it now. One of the reasons Fishbowl has never had an entry fee is because if you want to be a brand or a site, I know some of you have sites, some of you are just users, but if you have a brand, a site, a business, or whatever, you cannot require an entry fee for a fantasy contest. You can't go, I'm going to run Joe Blow Fantasy Sports Superstar Leagues, right, without licensing. That's why Underdog is legal in certain states. That's why FFPC is legal in certain states. That's why giant tournaments like ours don't require an entry fee, because we want everyone to play. We don't want to exclude states or international or whatnot, but if you're running leagues or a tournament and you require that entry fee, it's actually illegal. Now, if a little tournament is doing it, the odds of them getting caught, it's really low. It's really low. But if you want to do things the right way, and if you want to really, really grow, and if you want it to be a big thing, you probably shouldn't. And I actually shouldn't say that about little ones, because some have got hammered. But it's not just a little deal. There's multi-$100,000 fine in California recently. A couple of years ago, there was a $30,000 fine in New Jersey, Delaware, and Virginia will hit you with $50,000. There are some states where there's criminal charges. It's only getting more and more regulated. It's not a road you want to go down if you really want to make this your business. So that's the first step. And once again, I know that there are some out there that require them. I don't really pay as close of attention as I should, but whenever someone wants me to like promote one, my first question is that, and then I dig in a little more, and I'm like, yeah, I'll help you promote it if it's something like Wendy's Hip Hop Battle and Sexes, and they don't require entry fees and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, yeah. But that is probably the biggest one. There are other ones that can be problematic but aren't illegal. For example, it's actually against their terms of service. They can freeze your account and take all of your money as a fine. They've done it to quite a few people. Ryan smiles because there are at least two people that, yeah, him, Carla as well. Carla, there are people that it hits, and long gone are the days of put happy birthday in the comments. No, they have. I've talked to prevention loss people. They have algorithms for that now. That is a very boomer old school way of going, oh yeah, this will protect me. No, they can still catch you. Now it's like 1% of people are going to get caught. Once again, low risk, but do you want to do things, the right way? With PayPal and Venmo, they do allow it if you get approved, but I will tell you, my parents' company got approved for PayPal. It took forever. It got pulled back, and we had to get it back. I talked to Jeremy Levine about 2-3 years ago right when he was starting up Underdog. He's the CEO and founder of Underdog, and we were talking about PayPal, how it was really tough for Underdog to get approval. So if you're running a small stakes tournament or a smaller site or whatever without a ton of capital, it's going to be really hard to get that PayPal approval. So there are other options out there. Things like GoFundMe take 11%, which is pretty high, but yeah. Playfora? Yeah. Okay. 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 And yeah, I have not looked into that one. There are some like that out there that you can. It's crazy we've gotten to the industry to the point where there's companies like that. That's wonderful. Okay. Right. Right. Yep. 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 Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. But I will say, even with those, even with a GoFundMe, even with whatever, you still can't require the entry fee. That's still illegal. A state attorney can still hit you. What? Yeah. Oh no, I believe it. I haven't looked into it. I'm just saying it's still at base level. You still can't do that. But you can obviously give to that, And there are definitely several like giving fund type places that you can give to and do the same thing, where a user can feel very secure about the money's going to the right place. And that's really more of what I care about, is that people aren't getting scammed out there, and it's a situation where the user is giving money and it's actually going to the right place. That, because if you've known me for any amount of time, I don't care where the money goes as long as it goes to a real, like an actual charity, and you're doing some good out there. It doesn't have to be Fantasy Cares. It can be whatever. I just want people doing good out there. If you're running those kind of tournaments, Fantasy Cares, part of us wanting to legitimize this stuff is that we're going to start trying to help some of these tournaments, right, Bob? We're going to start, we can do things from like act as basically a GoFundMe and run your campaign, or we got staff. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Some things that we might be able to do, but like we have, no, you talk about our volunteers on staff.
So we can offer commish services. We can offer anything from promotion to our stamp of approval that the tournament is legit. The money will be going to the charity that it says. You will also receive your tax deductible donation by using Fantasy Cares. What else can we do? You get these guys. I'll retweet it. You don't care about me.
I can basically say I feel like I'm talking way too much, but there's many things we can do to help, from promotion to 1 second. I'll get to your. Were you questioning it? Or no? Oh, okay. From promotion to potential back end help to maybe logo design and stuff. It really depends, but there's a lot we could be able to do. But I do feel like I should mention that, but. More than that, I really should have said this at the top. If you're running something, or if you're part of something that's like requiring those fees, and actually, don't worry. Like, you should probably look into not doing that and stop doing that. But don't sit there scared like, oh crap, we've been breaking the law for so like. It's okay. The important thing is, you got a good heart and you're doing the right thing, and going forward, that gets fixed. That's one thing we want fixed out there, and we feel like being able to attach tournaments out there with Fantasy Cares, we can legitimize things and have people know that this is safe and secure and it's going to be done the right way. And we can do we'd probably do any level too. We could just be a place for the people to donate, or we can be super involved with you. I forgot what I was going to say next, but that's I guess that's the spiel on what Fantasy Cares aims to do in the future, and that's a little bit of charitable league things that you really need to be aware of if you're trying to run them or be part of them. We also wanted to talk about some commissioner stuff. I should mention we only plan on going like 30 minutes. We know that if you have any questions, they're probably going to be way too detailed to just answer in a quick format. So let's go like 20, 30 minutes, whatever. Go out there where it's a little cooler, not a nice cramped room. We can chat. Maybe you want to go in the expo, get ready for your next panel. We're not going to go very long here, and I speak a lot and a little bit faster than I probably should. Is there anything you want to mention, John, about things that Fantasy Cares might do for charity tournaments out there, or?
No, I mean, that pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
I just speak from the experience of what I do run and the fact that the promotion level, once, getting it and completely involved with Fantasy Cares obviously made it. I do the Fantasy Cares eliminators. Those obviously grew quite a lot once they became fully involved with Fantasy Cares, and we know how to run them legally, everything now, to raise a lot of money, and it is all tax deductible. It's great. So if you run anything that you do think this is a good fit, come on in. Come on in. There are seats. There's your seats. Come on in. Everybody's just standing there trying to peek over everybody. Just come on in. Nobody's going to tell you not to come. So yeah, but it's taken a while for us to get to here, but now that we have gotten here, like we know we have that experience that we can share, and that's really what we want to do at this point, is start sharing our experience of the charity stuff through everybody else and just keeping it growing.
Yeah, on that end, we've learned a lot of lessons along the way. And if you're had just started, or you're just starting in that tournament running space, or even if you're 3-4 years in, we're definitely resources. Like, even if you don't want to be under the Fantasy Cares wing, and you just want to ask us some questions, and we are more than happy, because once again, the goal of Fantasy Cares has always been to inspire it out there. Like, we don't have to take ownership or property and you all be under our, like, all the tournaments out there be under our wing. We legitimately want to just help you do good things out there, honestly. We did want to touch on a bunch of fantasy commissioner type stuff as well, because this is kind of a split topic, but the one thing that I always love to have as a commissioner, I'm going to mention off the top, even though it's at the bottom of all my bylaws, best interest clause. You got to have a best interest clause. It's basically copy pasted. I feel like that's copy pasted in 100 bylaws out there. It basically states if anything happens that's outside the rules, that the rules don't explicitly say, the commissioner has the full right to do what's in the best interest in the league, and that closes almost every loophole you can have, and you can fix a loophole later, but that one covers that thing. But anyone up here have any league settings you want to talk about that you think are great to throw in leagues or charity leagues? Your favorite league settings? Just what's your favorite league settings? Maybe then.
Pass it on. I mean, with fantasy, we score a lot of points. Sometimes there's some luck involved, and you miss the playoffs. So I love that last seed of the playoffs, getting in with the most points, right? So you got a 12-person league, take that 6th seed and give it to the person out of the bottom 7 that has the most points, right? It can be a problem if people aren't really up to the up on the rules and they feel like they're getting hosed out of that spot. But I think if you know it, if you communicate it, which is obviously the key in leagues and fantasy leagues, you want to communicate with your league mates. If you know the rules, if you know that 6th seed is going to the high points, I think that's a great way to at least reward someone who's on the outside looking in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
About this situation.
I work for Dynasty where we spent a long time trying
Right.
to figure out what to do.
yeah.
Whereas like other sites were just like, nope.
So
Didn't play it too bad.
it really depends on the site, because places like NFFC, FFPC, Safe Leagues, a lot of those legitimately had COVID rules based on a game that doesn't play. If NFL player stats don't accrue, they don't get them. So I'm part of one of those contest operators, and we had to do that. We legally can't do anything else but that, and that's the throw your arms in the air. Like, if you look at those and you're like, they did that because they legally had to. As far as personal leagues, if they threw their arms up there, I was actually a big fan of people who split the pod and people who did lots of other fun things. But as far as a legal operator, you cannot break your rules. Once the contest begins, once that week 1 kicks off, you cannot break your rules. So that's why maybe that vibe got out there, but all of them had those COVID rules that did that. Yes, I agree, and I agree. One of them made a statement, and then 4 days later, kind of changed their statement, but ended up going by their rules anyway. That I know that situation was a little awkward, but at least most of them said we have to wait till the NFL makes a decision. That's what we did. That's what NFC did. That's what several of them did. I do know that one of them made a statement right away, but most of them waited because we needed an official decision from the NFL that no player stats would accrue, because we had I'm just going off of mine, and mine are very similar to NFFC, so that's why I referenced theirs too. We basically had 3 options, and it all depended on what the NFL officially stated. So that might be what the delay was, but I think I know what you're talking about the one company that sent out an email and stated one thing, and then when the NFL made the decision, they kind of changed it because in reality they had to, because they had to follow their rule. But that first email probably just shouldn't happen. It probably should have been, we have to wait. Yeah, like in a personal league, private league. Yeah. Especially when it's high stakes and there's a lot of money on the line, and one team had Burrow and Chase and the other team was done, and we can fairly well take a good guess who was going to win that game. It sucks. I understand that. And honestly, yeah. Yep. Yep. As a guy who is I don't own the operator. I'm an employee of the operator, but as an employee, but a big time commissioner fan that I have been for years. We've had a podcast together on commissioning and stuff. I am with you. I did not like the way that went down, but I also respect that as a legal operator, there's a rule you have to follow. But I agree with you that I don't like it, and that's not the way I would do it or did it in my personal leagues at all.
Well, we saw a lot
If that makes sense.
Yeah, we saw a lot of options again in those home leagues, in those private leagues. We saw a lot of variety of options for ways to solve that
that Bills Bengals problem. And you know, a lot of those were very creative. And in my leagues, I basically felt like if the two managers feel good about it, then I feel good about it.
Yeah.
So you know,
It's just with those tournaments, it was really
Absolutely.
a little like you're like, really? Did you not like?
I tell you, Pat Crane's probably pretty
happy Yeah.
with the turnout of that one.
yeah, Crane feels good about it. I mean, again, just back to Scott's best interest clause. You know, for years and years, that rule was really in there just for guys like Bosch who look for every loophole in a league. But
I wrote it for Bob.
Yeah.
I wrote it before I knew it.
yeah, but I mean, then we had COVID, then we had DeMar Hamlin, and we saw really two serious and legit reasons why that rule should be in there. Just to cover yourself as commission, kind of give you that flexibility to make a decision.
Do you want to give your favorite leagues? Was there a question? Did I hear a question there?
I mean, favorite league settings. I'm a dynasty guy, so I mean, a lot of what you all probably prefer, I prefer auction. Certainly super flex. I like the second chance rule that basically gives teams a chance to throw their teams back at the end of the year and redraft. A lot of times we have bad luck. We get some injuries or something, and we want to give up on that team and maybe give up on that league altogether. So the second chance rule gives you a chance to stay in the league with the people you've played with, but get a kind of a do-over on your actual team.
Bob, you got one?
Well, it's pigs. I like
Did get some laughs in this?
I like a multi-copy bankroll league. Lot of movement, trades, buying and selling players.
If you don't know what a multi-copy league or a bankroll league is, talk to Bob later for quite a while. No, or actually, all of us have played them. So
I can give mine. My favorite rule is whatever the one is that made me create the league. Literally, like that's why I run so many leagues, because find one rule, and that is why I build a whole league around it. And unfortunately, because I like so many different little things, I now run way too many leagues, and he plays in way too many leagues. You know, like that's really what it is. Find that one rule that separates it. Have a hook. That's what makes the eliminators fun. Like it's got to have something that separates it, especially if you're running something for a charitable element where people aren't going to win money and they're going to give money. Like you have to have something that separates it, something different, something. It's great if you can just get a group together to play and donate. That's awesome. But if you want it to really actually grow, it's got to have something special, something different. I do crazy things with the eliminators. Scott changes the crazy SFB scoring every year. So like that is my advice, that if you want something to really, really grow, is have something that's just unique that you don't get anywhere else and doesn't make things overcomplicated. Keep it easy, but also unique and fun.
before I get to the last things on your thing, I just wanted to mention, as these guys talk about dynasty, a bunch of dynasty leagues, heavily vetted dynasty leagues where you've where we are getting to an interesting trend in dynasty right now where you really need to vet your owners or managers or whatever. Make sure maybe just that it can be good people or not, whatever, but friends, people you know, or people who have been vouched for, because we've seen a trend over the last couple of years of redrafters jumping into dynasty in a great way, but also in a bad way. We've seen a lot of redrafters start jumping into dynasty leagues and playing redraft style, because their mentality is, why join a high stakes redraft league and fight 11 people when you can join a dynasty startup and fight 7 or 8 and leave? Because the ROI is there. The ROI is there, and we have started to see teams even willing to trade their future picks, pay the extra $50, $100, and they're like, the ROI is still there. I will trade my future picks, get Devontae Adams from them, and now I have an even better chance to beat those 8 teams that are playing, because 3 or 4 are playing for the future. So my biggest thing, and we see this a lot more in. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna ask how you bet.
Yeah,
Besides knowing
right.
everybody, like if you had like a larger site, how would
Yes.
you bet?
Yeah, it is absolutely that way. It's I mean the best ways I found from vetting are if you're on forums or message boards, or if you're in leagues with other people who are in leagues with those people. When you're doing it on a public level, for like if you're running public leagues or a public tournament, it might just legitimately start to be a problem that you can't control. But I'm talking more for personal leagues. Anything from checking their Twitter accounts or asking your buddies that have played with them in leagues, and only bringing in people that have gotten vouched for. It's not an easy task, but we've started to see so much of that recently. I saw a bunch of leagues earlier this year, like in the January, February, March range. I got an open team. It's free for this year because they traded picks next year, and kept seeing those, and I'm like, why is this happening? And I looked into it. And this is definitely a thing. I run a contest operator where it's a thing. I talk to other contest operators where it's a thing there too. And I actually reached out to one of the guys I knew that dropped a bunch of leagues, and I asked him, and he admitted flat out that's what he was doing. And I'm like, F you. And also, but yeah, no, no, but yeah, like
It's hard. It's like
it is absolutely hard.
you're doing a
But it's something people need to start being aware of. That's a thing. If you don't vet your owner, it might be one of those that's not in it for the long haul. And got a question? Okay, okay, yeah. I mean, there are certain ways you can restructure your dynasty league to have lower payouts at the start and higher payouts at the end, higher entry fee at the start and lower entry fee at the end. So it's easier to get rid of the orphan and there's running prizes multiple years up front. There's a lot of 3 and 4 year only dynasty leagues that then it ends and you reset and restart, stuff like that will help eliminate some of that. And once again, even though I work on the public side, I've run I've run dynasty leagues since 1992. Like I've been around this industry. So I've been in the industry 18 years, but 92 was my first dynasty league. It was my home league. Still going today. It's a keeper league now, but it's 32 years now. If what is, I'm seeing a lot more of them. I think it's still going to be niche. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be like take over. I don't think it's the next Superflex. I like to joke here that my son, who's 10, and all his friends, they have never played in a 1 QB league. It's only Superflex. So it's such an easy like when I was younger, I played touchdown only, and then I played standard, and then there was PPR, and I look at Superflex. Like I know there's still a lot of people who don't like Superflex, but I'm telling you, I know a lot of kids that they will not touch a 1 QB league, and it's crazy to me because I kind of like 1 QB leagues still. I'm sorry, I like them. I refuse to let my home league go to Superflex. I like Superflex too, but I don't want to give up 1 QB yet. uh, my son in his kids league forces it because my son is like Linda. If you know Linda, my son loves kickers. Like when Justin Tucker hit that 66 yarder, that was like the moment of his year 2 years ago. He loves kickers, but so my son forces it in his home league, but his other leagues don't. So I think I did want to touch on what are your we're gonna go to Kevin for this because he's got a whole series on this of favorite ways to set draft order, favorite ways to have a league punishment. You want to drop 3 or 5 of each of those?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the fantasy experience is why we're all here. We love that home league experience, and there's nothing better than a home league where everyone's active and engaged, and so you gotta have strategies to keep people engaged. Like these days, people are in so many different leagues. What's gonna keep their attention on your league? And to me, it's through experience, it's been making it fun, right? Making the live draft experience, as big as I can make it. Creating like fun last place punishments and draft order ideas. The reason why you do all that stuff is for engagement. You want everybody active, connected, and so for like last place punishments, you can go, extreme or you can go simple. I mean, I think simple is probably best for most people, but if you got a live draft, put them in a last place shirt. You have them run the draft board, right? My daughter and I, she's 10, but it was probably when she was 6. We made a custom trophy. I took all these trophies I had when I was a kid, and we just built them up on this massive, like 6-foot trophy, and we spray painted it, and we made it the most awful, wonderful looking thing ever. And basically that trophy goes to the last place manager, to sit in their house, during the next season. So doing stuff like that is so much fun. But obviously last place, there's a million things you can do. But the key is to find something that works right for your league. At fantasyfootballunlimited.com, there's 100 different last place punishments listed. 100, and they're all great. But again, there's something for everybody. So, and then when it comes to draft order, same kind of thing. I like draft order because you can set it up in advance of the draft to make like a pre-draft event. People like to know their draft position, so doing things for draft order in advance of the live draft is awesome. I personally have done like a bingo ball lottery where we basically have a bingo ball lottery event. Everybody gets together and experiences that. But for last place punishments, I mean, there's just so many things. I think in regards to like charity, you can get like a last place manager does a lemonade stand, right? And you dress them up. You I don't know what the regulations are on it, but you dress up that stand all last place, and dress them up in an outfit, and you raise money for your league. That also that can help cover some league dues, like league costs, but also give the proceeds to charity, right? You can a last place punishment can be a donation to a charity. So last place punishment, yeah, right? It's fun. It's fun. Yeah.
The cup, there's no charge. You donate and you get money.
But with draft order, there's so many things. 100-yard rush is fun. 100-yard rush is fun. Again, it's just something you can do in advance. Get everybody together, watch it. I love the video game simulation deal where they, with the wrestlers, where you can customize the wrestler. That's cool. One thing I think would be fun with like a laser tag, right? A laser tag's fun. I haven't done it since I was little, but I did it a couple months ago, and it was amazing. After it's over, you see the scores, and I'm like, this is, get everybody together, look at those scores, and let that do it. So the key is creativity and engagement. That's the goal. Is you want a league that's active, connected, and through those kind of strategies, you can accomplish that. You got anything?
Oh yeah, the best way to set a draft order is do an auction, because it's way better. Always do an auction. No, I will actually say I very much everything is random and they are fun. Anything for me, I would rather it be a competition if you can't do an auction, because that cornhole tournament, anything, poker game, literally anything that's a competition, so you earn that spot. Because I'm just not lucky. So the bingo balls in 30 years for my home league never go my way.
The other thing is if you have the time, sometimes that's hard with everybody. But if you can put together a ton of events like throughout the off season that accumulate towards draft order, you can do you can mix in competitions, you can mix in Kentucky Derby, put all those together, have 5, 6, 7 events during the off season that dictate the draft order. That's a dream to me.
Yeah, the one thing bringing charity into the worst prize. That's an interesting move. I got last, but I got to do. But it reminds me that Kevin Pulsifer for ESPN recently had to fly on several different flights around the country, and he did it raising money for charity. And I think this brings it back to the beginning where he did that through us. Like it was a campaign on our site. The donations went to us, and it's for what he was raising money for. But I think that states that it doesn't even have to be a fantasy league or a fantasy tournament. If we can help you raise money, like Bob says, we did all the hard work and did all the steps to get to this point. So now that you guys can just use us for that stuff, and also use us for advice if you need it. So I think it's well over 30 minutes now. I plan on going about 30 or so, so that we can get out there and we'll stand around a bit, and you guys can chat with us if you have very specific questions or whatnot. We can they can be broad too. They don't have to be specific of it.